Reality of to feel God's space, to feel God's space. Now, the thing is, it's funny that, I teach people the ideal reality of Genesis, in Genesis, it says that in the beginning, God created heavens and the earth. And you know what? I don't think people really understand concerning how they, see life and their actions towards life and each other to understand what that really is saying. It's saying that, I want you to see in this angle is somebody supernatural created something natural that is pretty much far-fetched because knowing if we're paying attention and looking around in this in the sky, there's a lot of dots out there, or numerous dots out there, that unmeasurable and very will always be far-fetched from the human understanding. But that's another message. But the thing is, I want you to know that understand that God created heaven and earth. Now it says that God created us and He made us in our image, made it in His image, in His likeness, and when He formed and made us, He made us into dust of the ground. And He blew the breath in our life, and man became a living soul. Now, notice this idea that how much the size of a man is, pretty small. Concerning our viewpoint, concerning the sky, there's not, there were giants in the earth that, unfortunately the fallen angels, produced, that God wiped out in the flood. But the thing is, I want to kind of, normal human being, is not that, tall concerning the sky limit. You know what I'm saying? You don't have tall people walking around, going everywhere. But here's the thing about, the reality that I want you to see. We're small. We're very small concerning the idea of the sky, and how high up it is. Now, the thing is, if God created us in this height that we're in, that means, and He creates and testifies, create all things. That means this guy is immeasurable. Yeah. But here's the ideal that, will the scriptures said, like I try to tell people about putting God first. You know what I'm saying? That according to Genesis, we are supposed to put God first if He's the first person that established the earth. Automatic with that idea of that we know that He created all things should be common sense that we should put God first. It should be common sense. But that tricky serpent in Genesis 3 has deceived people to, to eat a fruit that will change our perspective and how we look at an earth that we did not create. And he used this ideal called Asgard. Now, here's the thing about Asgard. Asgard is like, more likely that you're like similar, that you more likely equal, somewhere equal to God. You know what I'm saying? in that idea aspect that you can kind of do what he did, or so to speak. You know, like I try to teach people about Ramesses. Ramesses think he was equal to Moses' God, and found out in the end he was not really on his playing field. But the thing is, what I want to get out of this, that, you know, it's supposed to be automatic. We're supposed to understand that we must put God first. But I'm finna use your imagination. Give me your imagination for a little bit. Now, what if first is a spot that only God can sit on? Or more likely, God's throne is in heaven. And God is, of course, unmeasurable being, finite being. And God sits on his throne. And only he can sit on his throne because he's the only size that can more likely take up space. Space, get it? Take up space in his throne. Now, if he's the only person that can take up space in his throne, and what if God's like, you know, told you to say, you know, give you a choice to either put me first or put others, or y'all know I'm talking about the PT Cruiser, or PT means people and things, in his spot. You know what I'm saying? Now, let's say, more likely, I'm going to use a car. Let's say God is a car, and he has a, you know, seat in his car. And that seat represents, in God's car, represents the number one spot that we're supposed to put God in. Let's say that, you know, of course, in this ideal belief system, that we have a choice to put anybody in that car. We can choose to put anybody in this car, that God's car. You know what I'm saying? And according to our, you know, hearts and soul and mind, we can, if we desire to believe that this person is as the same as equal as God, we will put him in that car, or she in that car. So what people don't realize what they do when they put things other than God before him, that he said in his commandments, that you try to put a being, an unmeasurable finite being, God, and you try to put something that can be measured. Yeah, not just can be measured, but is small. You know what I'm saying? This is small. You know what I'm saying? Could you imagine if you needed a ride in God's car, that you will put a person that you place before God in God's chair to take you somewhere? You try to put people and things to take you somewhere in this car, God's car. You say, God, get out the car. I'm going to put, you know, this girl in this car, or I'm going to put this hobby, or I'm going to put this thing in the world that I want to do, or I want to put this thing or this person, y'all know what I'm talking about, that we put before God. I'm going to put him or put her here to drive your car. And so we put them in a car and they try to, could you imagine them trying to buckle up God's seatbelt? Okay, they try to crank up God's car, and they dare to try to get their leg to fit God's pedal. To try to take you somewhere that only God can take you. And you know, people are in a crazy, ridiculous spiritual darkness in their minds to think that people can actually take them somewhere to where only God can take them. And they're trying to get people to drive God's car to take them there. You know what I'm saying? More likely, this is what that means. More likely, they want a God performance. From as gods, they want a God performance out of them, to love them, to take care of them, to be there for them, to do everything that they wish that you want them to do. and they trying to say, hey, give me a God performance. And it's like they're trying to, give you a God performance. Like, yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's all right. It's all good. And you're trying to give a God performance in the flesh, but God is spirit. Yeah. Okay. The thing is, here's the idea, and watch this. God showed me some interesting. I talked to God on this. He showed me some interesting things, or revealed some interesting things. You know how people, that Tony Braxton song that, it says, "And I will never breathe again." It's talking about you will never breathe again because you ain't, this person can only give me breath that I breathe and stuff like that. And it's like, Tony, the song is talking about a natural man is supposed to, give this person natural breath to breathe, to have life, that this bring life to this person, and they will come alive, and, and they will have a wonderful life with this person, and, happy ever after in this kind of lust-filled, chaotic, world as people are seeking after selfish ambitions according to the lust of the flesh. This is going to happen. Somebody's going to bring life to them, And this, of course, says in the Word of God that God blew breath, a spiritual being blew breath of life in you and became a living soul. And people will choose to get this natural breath or believe this natural breath is going to bring life to them, and they're going to have a wonderful life because this person bring life to them. Trying to fill God's space, huh? Look at this. Well, check this out. Now, creation. Oh, this one's hilarious. Watch this one. People believe, now, like, people can create things, men can create a lot of things in this world. They can create buildings, they can create all kind of stuff. Look at it. They can create this, they can create boxes, they can create all kind of things. Men can create all things. But there's one thing men really can't create that they need to get through their thick skulls if they want to make sense of reality where they're living in. They can't create worlds. They can't create earth. They can't create material. They can use material from the earth to create things, but they can't create earths. But if we magnify them like, oh, well, they can create this, they can create that. Ooh, there must be the awesome, greatest being that ever existed. That, I see people have this mindset and how they look at men, and they like, oh, they're just so unbelievable in how they can create all this wonderful things and stuff like that. And I was like, I'm looking at them like, well, from my spiritual eyes, back they really, Satan got them really on that stupid. The thing is, look, there is no measure to this. Immeasurable, help them out, Chris Tomlin, undescribable of measurements of how far-fetched this God is. So if you try to feel the space of the PT, I'd say, people and things of this earth to fulfill God's spot or drive God's car, that's only car that God can only have room for, that you would be like, trying to reach God's steering wheel. Could you imagine reaching God's steering wheel? Or have the goal to extend to think your arms can extend there? How are you gonna get playing the music on a tape that you better get a more control? Better have a more control tape back or something. I don't think probably your more control can probably laser can probably extend to his measurements. But what the topic of the message is all about, what I'm saying? Nobody can't fill God's space. Period. Point blank. Get out of your ridiculous fantasy imagination of how you blow people up and think they're great. Like, nobody can fill God's space, and I hope this message can help you wake you up to this reality and stop this fantasy mindset and get a closer relationship with your God in heaven. All right, that's the message. To God be the glory. and forever and ever. In Jesus' name, amen.